The English media have been exposed. Most definitely, I feel like the cruelty towards Kusanov since he's come to the Premier League has been absolutely ridiculous. A young defender plying his trade, playing for one of the biggest clubs in the country, whether you like it or not, it's always going to be hard for him to settle in. And I've got some comments here, and we're going to sort of analyze them, look at what people are saying, and actually compare how good he's been, because he's actually been really, really solid. But before I begin, if you are new here, please hit the like, hit the subscribe as well. It'd be greatly appreciated. But let's get into it. This is the overlap Carragher, and let's see how they reacted after his debut against Chelsea.
I felt really uncomfortable watching that lad play centre. I felt really sorry for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's 20. He's from Uzbekistan. He doesn't speak a word of English. I think it was stupid to put him in the team, but we almost didn't have any other options because, as you know, we've got Club Brugge.
John Stones was sub.
He can't play because these guys haven't been registered for the Champions League. Stones is a bit iffy. If he plays that game, gets injured, we don't have any centre-backs for the Champions League.
Yeah, listen,
we've got to prioritise that.
I heard Pep say that after the game, and I didn't think about the John Stones, but could he have put like Rico Lewis full-back and Gavardio centre-back? And I'm not just saying it to be clever after the event. If the lad can't speak English, he's only had a week's training, and you're playing Chelsea, one of the top teams in the league as well, it just felt like,
The first 5 minutes was a disaster. He obviously gave away a goal, got booked, gave away a free kick. But I think after that, I think he did pretty well. And I know you're going to...
Because he hid after that.
I don't think
Because he hid after that. This is a 20-year-old, like it's been said. He couldn't speak a word of English, playing his first game against a top Chelsea side who have forwards like Jackson, Palmer, one of the best players. They were in a good moment as well, Chelsea. And look at how they're beating him down. If it was any other sort of player and maybe profile, they wouldn't have said this about Kusanov. He's so young. How often do we see 20-year-olds come into the Premier League and hit the ground running straight away? You don't. You don't. And to even be in the Premier League, playing for Manchester City at the age he is, it is an achievement in itself. He hadn't had much training with the team, and he acquitted himself so well after those mistakes against Chelsea. He was bodying players off the ball. He obviously got hooked in the second half quite early, but he showed that he has the potential and quality. He's quick, he's pacey, he's strong. There was elements in his game which I'm sure Pep would have found and looked at and been like, okay, this kid has something about him. And there's Vitor Reis as well. Kusanov is ahead of Vitor Reis, and that should tell you all you need to know about how good of a player he actually is. And I didn't like the way it was analysed after the game from the pundits and even City fans themselves. He's a young boy playing his first couple of games in the Premier League. Let's continue listening.
Did hide him slide into tackles with Cole Palmer. He's a bit of a meathead, and at the end of the day, he's had a baptism of fire there.
It's one of the nicest things that was said, that he's a meathead.
he's going to learn from... I mean, you can't have... now that's out the window. He's had probably the best introduction for him personally. He's going to learn from that, and it can't really get worse than that 5 minutes. So I think he's going to be a great player. And that game on Wednesday now is making me nervous, but we should have already been knocked out, in my opinion, the way we've played. I was saying just then.
And that is true. You can see why Manchester City signed a player like Kusanov, even when he was making those mistakes. Even when the worst thing to do is really doubt a Pep Guardiola signing, for sure. 100%. I think Arsenal played against Manchester City. I've said many times before, I'm an Arsenal fan. And Kusanov had a fantastic game. 1v1 against Martinelli. He really showed his ability, his quality, his dueling capabilities, his pace. He had something about him in those Champions League games. And to show that, it's excellent. It really, really is. So I knew he was going to come into himself. And if we look in isolation at his stats since that Chelsea game, yes, a 5.7. Look, he's been consistent. Clean sheet against Newcastle. Clean sheet against Tottenham. Probably the top two best players on the pitch against Liverpool. He's been absolutely unreal. Even against Real Madrid in the Champions League at the Bernabeu, he was top. You know, Vinny, of course, in the first few minutes was giving him one of the horror games. But as the game went on, he grew into it. And that's what players do. As the games progress, they just get into it. They show their ability. They shine through. This is what makes them top professionals. And Kusanov, he's had to deal with the media. We know how the media is. But the way he's sort of handled it, you can tell he's still confident. He's now smiling with the team. You know, the Manchester City players seem to love him. Pep seems to love him. Like, look at this quote. This was after the Tottenham game. He said he travelled with no wash bag, no nothing. He arrived to play football. He wants to play football. He's going to go into every game with desire, with passion. And that's the minimum you want to see from a centre-half. No one that's going to shy away from challenges. Somebody who's willing to put his body on the line. I think one of the favourite moments from Khusanov was against Liverpool, where Diaz got sort of split open by a pass from Salah. I think it was Soboslai was in on goal. And Khusanov comes flying across, puts his body in the way, even though he could collide with Edison. That is what you want to see. Manchester City missed those sort of defenders, and Khusanov is showing that, Uzbekistan international, can't speak English, and he's still willing to put everything on the line. This is going to be a top, and I mean a top centre-half in the future. I can tell you that for free. Anyway, I just want to end this video talking about Manchester City and the context of the Premier League. We can now sort of bring Arsenal into this race for the top 4. They're on 47, City, 1 behind Forest. I think now City have going to lock down 3rd place, in my opinion. I feel like they'll go on one of those fantastic runs. You look at the teams below them, it is very, very tight. You've got Fulham on 42, Brighton on 43, Bournemouth on 43, Newcastle on 44, Chelsea on 46. It is a fight and a half. It really, really is. Arsenal, like I said, they're probably more closer in this race than the race for the title. But yeah, it's going to be a fantastic race, and Khusanov's introduction is going to help City do a really strong finish to the season. It was vital. They beat Tottenham, and they did, and who knows what this Premier League season is going to look like, but it is a fantastic season. Just look at how tight it is in that battle for Europe. But anyway, that's it for now. Hope you have enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on the media and their opinions on Khusanov and how they've switched up, because I think it was quite appalling to par that much on Khusanov when he'd only just had his debut against Chelsea.